Jehovah's Witnesses, a religion based on the occult and spiritism. Chapter 15, entitled Locusts and Their King. So in this chapter of the book, the author begins talking about the locusts and their king from the book of Revelation. So I thought that there would be no better way than to start looking at some screenshots of the Revelation book. So as we go through this, please pause for your reading, for your general pleasure, and we'll take a look at what the Jehovah's Witnesses say these scriptures mean. So here we have chapter 22 of the Revelation book, entitled The First Woe, Locusts. And there in paragraph 2, it says in the yellow highlight, the Bible book of Joel, written during the 9th century BCE, describes a plague of insects, including locusts, that is similar to the one that John sees. So this is what they're referencing from. They say that there's a correlation between the locusts in Revelation and the one that Joel sees, but all that the witness say is that there's a similarity. That doesn't mean that both of them are the same thing. So by saying that there's something similar in these two instances, then they go on to describe how both of them are the same thing. Witnesses don't really catch that, but anyways, at the end of paragraph 3, it says, there is no record of a literal insect plague at that time, that of the 1st century, that caused discomfort to some and leading others to repentance. And then paragraph 4, the yellow highlight, was there a figurative plague during those days of the 1st century? Yes, indeed, it came as a result of the relentless preaching of the newly anointed Christians. And then the other yellow highlight says, but to the ones who refused the invitation of the 1st century Christians, it became like a devastating swarm of locusts. So when they can't figure out a literal fulfillment of the prophecy, then according to the Jehovah's Witnesses, then it must have a figurative fulfillment. So let's take a look at the next screenshot. So not only do they stop at a figurative fulfillment in the 1st century, as the beginning of paragraph 5 says, reasonably we could expect Joel's prophecy to have a final fulfillment in the time of the end. Now let's stop there, because now we're speaking of how the prophecy in Joel was similar to the one in Revelation. Now there's where they get to the point where now they are the same. So therefore, let's talk about Joel's prophecy instead of the one in Revelation. But get this, you see that little picture on top of the screen, those 7 angels, and 5 of them are blowing trumpets. It says blowing the 5th trumpet introduces the first of 3 woes. Well, let's just see what this epic and glorious 5th trumpet means. The yellow highlight in paragraph 5. At the Bible Students Convention at Cedar Point, Ohio, USA, September 1st to the 8th, 1919, a notable outpouring of Jehovah's Spirit activated his people to organize a global campaign of preaching. Of all professed Christians, they alone, recognizing that Jesus Christ had been enthroned in heaven, spared no efforts in publishing abroad that good news. Let's stop. It says they alone, of all professed Christians, recognized that Jesus had been enthroned as heavenly king. That is a lie. They didn't realize that until 1925 with this article. We have screenshots of the March 1st, 1925 Watchtower entitled Birth of a Nation, and it was based off of Revelation chapter 12. And they realized that the heavens had given birth to a new nation, and the ruler of that nation is none other than Jesus Christ, and that began to reign. He began to reign as king of that new nation in 1914. Previously, They had thought that his second presence and his reign began in 1874. So please pause if you want to read this. I'm going to leave the next 7 or 8 screenshots up for about 15 seconds. So back to the always quirky and weird Revelation book. It goes on. So here we have a screenshot of the book of Revelation, chapter 9, and verses 1 through 11 are highlighted. And notice verse 1, it says, "The fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to the earth, and the key to the shaft of the abyss was given him." It's interesting because it says, "I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth." Well, we know that the witnesses and the Bible does affirm this conclusion that stars in the heaven mean angels, and we'll take a look at that in a second to prove that. So it says a star or an angel had fallen from heaven to earth. Now, does the Bible ever speak of Jesus Christ falling from heaven to the earth? Well, let's take a look. I did a word search for the word fallen in the New Testament, and it gave me all of these results, and you can take a look at each one. So far, nothing of Jesus Christ mentioned him falling from heaven. It looks like we have some results of fallen meaning at Luke 10:18, where it says, "At that he said, I see Satan already fallen from like lightning from heaven." It's kind of odd. The second page of the results for fallen, again, we don't see anything of Jesus Christ having fallen from heaven. We hear some results that he had fallen asleep in death, but nothing of Jesus Christ. It's interesting. Again, we pull up that verse in Revelation chapter 9, verse 1. "The fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth, and the key to the shaft of the abyss was given him." We also see Revelation 14:8. Another second angel followed, saying, "She has fallen. Babylon the Great has fallen." So nothing of Jesus Christ. We have, again, 2 verses saying that the devil had fallen from heaven, and 1 of Babylon the Great that she had fallen. And then we have the last screenshot of the last verse from the results from the word fallen. Revelation 18:3 is mentioned there at the bottom. So you decide, is that verse in Revelation that the star that had fallen from heaven and was given to the key to the abyss, was that Jesus Christ, or was it someone else? If you want to use the scriptures for fallen, I think the evidence shows that this fallen star refers to Satan himself, not Jesus Christ. So the Jehovah's Witnesses are sadly mistaken in identifying Jesus Christ as Satan the devil. And I think this chapter, Revelation 12, kind of seals the deal as to who this fallen star is. Verse 3 says there was a fiery colored dragon, and Christians know that this is referring to the devil. In verse 4 it says its tail drags a third of the stars of heaven, and it hurled them down to the earth. Again, a fallen star from heaven to the earth. In verse 9 it says the devil and Satan was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him. Or his stars, a third of the stars were hurled down with him. In verse 12 it says, woe for the earth and for the sea, because the devil has come down to you, to the earth. And then verse 13 says that the dragon saw that, now when the dragon saw that it had been hurled down to the earth. So quite conclusively, the Bible does not speak of Jesus Christ ever being fallen from heaven, but it does speak of the devil falling from heaven along with its angels or demons. So the Jehovah's Witnesses really are sadly mistaken by identifying Jesus Christ as Satan the devil. So we're going to go back to the quirky Revelation book, this weird thing, and the yellow highlight on paragraph 9 says that they were told to harm no vegetation of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So this fallen star has the key to the abyss, and he unlocks it, and these swarm of locusts come out. And it says that these locusts represent anointed Christians. But it's interesting because these anointed Christians, it says, they harm only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And the witnesses also say that only the anointed are the ones that have the seal of God on their foreheads. So that means those of the great crowd would be tormented by these locusts who are represented as anointed ones. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? Because it doesn't say that they could harm only the anointed and the great crowd. It says whoever doesn't have the seal of God, meaning the anointed, those are to be tormented. So, again, their reason and logic just doesn't match up. There in paragraph 10, the yellow highlight says, the locusts are to harm only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Those in Christendom who claim to be sealed, but whose record belies that claim. Right? Yeah, they're going to blame it on Christendom, but they don't include the great crowd because those do not have the seal on their forehead either. So what I did for the rest of this chapter, I just kind of highlighted some silly things that I found amusing. Here in paragraph 11, it says, moreover, the torment is so severe that men seek to die. True, we have no record that any of those who were stung by the locust actually tried to kill themselves, but the expression helps us to picture the intensity of the torment. That's kind of, I don't know, an oxymoron. It was so severe that some men wanted to die, but there's no record that no one really tried that. Just thought that was so funny. Here on this page, it talks about how the illustration of these locusts who seem to have golden crowns on their head, This well illustrates the loyal group of revived Christians in 1919. On their heads, John sees what seems to be crowns of gold. It would not be proper for them to have actual crowns, because they do not begin ruling while they are still on earth. But in 1919, they already had a royal appearance. And then it talks about their teeth resembles a lion's teeth. A lion uses its teeth to tear meat. Oh, yeah, no duh. From 1919 onward, the John class has again been able to take in solid spiritual food. And then we have a little cartoon from, I think it's the Golden Age or the Consolation, whatever magazine it was. There, the witnesses are trying to make fun of the Christendom. And on this page here, that first yellow highlight says, throughout the 1920s and 1930s, the Golden Age tormented the clergy with further stinging articles and cartoons. Yeah, right. And then in paragraph 18, it says, the modern day locusts had a job to do. The kingdom news had to be preached. Errors had to be exposed. So that's what we're doing here. We're exposing the errors of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then in paragraph 19, it says, at this convention, the symbolic locusts received further fighting equipment, notably a book entitled Deliverance. And there at the bottom, you see a picture. It says, the Royal Albert Hall, where the book Deliverance was released, and the resolution, a testimony to the rulers of the world, was adopted. What's so funny is that Jehovah's Witnesses equate themselves as being a part of these trumpet blasts, and their conventions were signified by these blasts, and the books that they received signified more of their fighting equipment and so on and so forth. It's pretty ridiculous that I don't think I ever really believed that part of it. You just kind of went along with it. But yeah, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, and that's what they teach, and that book is just crazy insane. And here you have a picture of the last page of that chapter of the Revelation book. But what I forgot to mention on the other page was that these conventions and their articles and magazines and books that were released associated with these conventions were such momentous things. They represent trumpet blasts and gave fighting instructions to these locusts of anointed Christians. Yet you can't find these things. As momentous as they were, you can't order them at a kingdom hall. Jehovah's Witnesses can't even really see them for themselves unless they have personal copies. More than likely, they don't have them in the kingdom halls. Such a sad thing, because these were such momentous occasions. I would figure that they would make them readily available since they were so momentous and they were prophesied in the Bible, but I don't know, that's me. So this is going to bring an end to this chapter. I thought it was interesting how the Jehovah's Witnesses identified a fallen star from heaven as Jesus Christ, when no other scripture talks about Jesus Christ fallen from heaven. But we do have several verses in the Bible that talks about Satan the devil and his demons fallen from heaven. Another one of their occult and spiritistic teachings. Please stay away from the Jehovah's Witnesses if you are listening to this broadcast. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for taking time to listen to my summary of the book, Jehovah's Witnesses, a religion based upon the occult and spiritism. Post your comments, like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for chapter 16.